Ladies and gentlemen, we're back on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. We're very pleased that you tuned in this week, and you're going to be very pleased. Clarkey, I know you're excited. I'm excited. Leafs Nation should be excited. Look, it's not every day. We have a lot of great guests on this show, Clark.
But let me just say one thing. This guy changed my career path.
Yes, he did.
I wanted to be the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I sat beside a guy in 1987 probably and thought, I have no hope. This is the guy. So I produced. There you go.
Yeah.
I had no hope.
Most you can't do, produce, right? That's what I'm sure he would say.
Yes.
And I'll say confidently, he changed my career path too, because I also thought the same thing growing up hearing this guy. We are very thrilled. We've had him on the show before. We're extremely thrilled to have him on this time, just ahead of the night that the Toronto Maple Leafs will honor the man, the myth, the legend, ladies and gentlemen, our friend and yours, Joe Bowen. Bonesy, how are you, my friend?
Well, good. I love the name of this program because Clarkey hasn't instigated anything in his goddamn life.
You don't watch the show, do you? I get this guy riled up.
How would you come up with that stupid name for this podcast, for crying out loud? But
I will,
thank you guys.
I will say, Bonesy, I think I needle Clarkey and instigate him a little more than he instigates me. But believe it or not, it has happened. He's gotten me pretty upset on here before.
All right, well, someone has to do something to him because I work with him, and God, we had to prod him almost with a cattle prod to get anything done when he was producing for us. So, all good, all good.
See, now you're riling me up again.
Well,
okay, let's rile Joe up.
You thought I was just going to come on here and be a nice, polite guest?
No, I like it. And I need now let's just start on the same. What's the most frustrating moment you've had as the broadcaster of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Well, that's a good one.
Wow. Carrie Fraser?
I knew it. We talked about this before you got on. And I thought
we had a little side bet, like if we asked Joe this.
But working with Clarkey is a definite second place. And probably more second places to add to them than the number one place, but all good. No, you know what? I've had lots of people talking about what's your favorite call and what's your favorite game and what's the biggest disappointment and everything else. And what was it like working with all of these wonderful people that I've had? And it really has been a chance to kind of reflect on all of this. And guys, one of the things that has been so great is getting letters. And who puts a letter in the mail anymore? I mean, half the time they're on goddamn strike anyway, so you're never going to get it. But emails and whatnot. But I got a letter from a gentleman, and he talked about growing up with me, being on the radio, and how his dad would drive him to hockey and coming home from practices and games. And there we were in the radio with him. And then he told me that his dad was terminal and that he had asked his dad, they were going up to the hospital. I'm going to bring a TV up, Dad, we'll watch the game. And he said, no, bring the radio. And they listened to Ralphie and I don't know which game it was. And the poor gentleman passed that night. And it tears your heart out, but it also makes you reflect and realize. And when we're doing the games, we don't think about it. You really don't. I mean, you just think about doing the game and not really about who is listening. You hope somebody's listening. And then to have that kind of put on you as a criteria of what you've done and what it's meant to people. And we've heard so many stories like that and others. It warms your heart. It makes you realize maybe how long you've been at this, because I've heard it from Leaf players like John Tavares and Scotty McKay or Scotty Lawton and others that have grown up in Southern Ontario and been subjected to listening to us in a cramped and crowded area where there was nothing else to listen to, but they enjoyed it.
Well, they certainly did. There's you and Ralphie in the booth. And I mean, just an incredible career. And I think, that's one interesting thing about, your announcement, Joe, that you're going to step away after this season is I can't even imagine trying to take a step back and encapsulate 4+ decades behind the mic of one of the most legendary sports franchises on this planet. When you hear people say something like that to you, like what goes through your mind? It must be an impossible thought.
It is. It's very gratifying, obviously, because you really don't think about it as you're going through it and doing whatever you do. It's a job, right? So you kind of enjoy what you're doing, and you hope that there's someone out there enjoying it as well. And then I guess it takes something like this that shows that it's coming to an end for people to take the time to react, stop you on the way into the building. We've loved the way you've done things. And here's another story about how you impacted our family or our drive or why I ended up getting into the National Hockey League. I mean, Stephen Lorenz has done the same thing, and Max Domi and others. And one of the things that I did research, and I was kind of astounded when I did it. I have called almost 700 Toronto Maple Leaf names in 44 years. And I thought, wow, now that's pretty damn impressive. I'm pretty proud of that. That's something to think about, how many kids, players went through this organization in 44 years.
Yeah, absolutely incredible stuff. And I mean, when you consider all that and then you think about what's coming up on Tuesday, December 16th, and Clarkey, I know you're going to go down, and I'm sure Leaf fans that are going to be in the building are going to be so excited for Holy Mackinaw night. I mean, that in itself, Joe, like a lot of broadcasters have a great career, but it's rare to have such an illustrious, long, great career, call over 700 different players' names for the team, be so ingrained in the history of the team, and also have a catchphrase associated with yourself that the second any hockey fan says it, they immediately know you're referring to Joe Bowen. When you see something like this, like, what does that mean to you? Because it's just incredible.
Well, it means that it happened very accidentally. And I'm sure on your show, I talked about this in past and how it kind of blurted out and then all of a sudden became a catchphrase. And other, and people are saying to me, you know what? And we don't see it an awful lot these days. I don't know what it's like in your neighborhoods, guys, but you don't see kids out on the street playing ball hockey, yelling car, right? And getting out of the way. You don't see it. But when I grew up and when I first started, I mean, it was very prevalent. And so now all of a sudden people are coming to me, so, oh, when my kids are in the basement and they score, that's all we hear down there is Holy Mackinaw. And I said, well, that's very gratifying. And you think, well, I guess I'm leaving some kind of a legacy. If nothing else, it's two words. And other broadcasters have had catchphrases and stuff that have been associated with them, and it's very gratifying that I have that, and hopefully some people will remember it for a number of years to come.
Joe, as I mentioned, I think I started working with you down as the engineer down at Maple Leaf Gardens in 1987.
Let's just wait. Engineer.
I'm not an engineer.
Mean that you had a degree. Maybe you even drove a train at one point.
Exactly.
Engineer. All you did was plug a bunch of microphones in and turn the goddamn box on.
I agree
about engineering.
I agree. That's why I aired.
Clarkey, what did you do to Bonesy here?
He turned the
mic off. He's muted himself. There's our engineer. He's muting himself on the air.
Classic example of what I had to work through. Can we hear you now?
Are you back, Mr. Engineer?
I've lost
train
my
running.
We got you. We gotcha.
We can hear you now,
See
Clark.
what happens when you try to make a point?
for this to happen.
What, you know what? Well, Clark,
You don't know what to do.
that's so funny. Clarky, we're gonna get rid of you
What
here.
is going on?
We couldn't have rehearsed this any better.
This is spectacular. I can't believe it. This is the best thing that I could ever imagine.
Oh boy.
This is fantastic.
Okay, you were
Yeah.
about to make a really important point. Go ahead.
I was just trying to remember. I didn't hear anything you guys have said for the last 2 minutes, so I'm going to go back and listen to that. The first guy was Bill Waters, who was beside you, I think, when I was there in '87,
When you were, yes.
and then Gord Stellick,
Yep.
and then I guess Ralphie. Was there anyone before? Am I missing anyone?
Mark Hebscher was in there for a couple of years.
Hebsy.
Okay, yes, we had Hebsy
we
on
just had on
last
the show?
week. Yeah,
Yeah.
or a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. Yeah. Tell me about those three guys and how they were different and how they were all, though, characters.
Well, let's start with all of them have a magnificent understanding of the sport and a wonderful ability to describe or add quote unquote color commentary. Wilbur, of course, was a player agent, and talk about having a conflict of interest. 6 of his clients were on the Leafs when he was doing color with me.
Unreal.
So none of them made a bad pass or anything else. Gordy was a former general manager and had been in the Leaf front office for so many years, knew so many of the ins and outs and everything else of the Leaf organization and the players. And Ralphie is Bob Uecker of hockey. A wonderful knowledge of the sport, but just a wonderful sense of humor and a comedian. He really is, and makes his living, a lot of it, by doing just that at golf tournaments and stuff of that nature. So the three of them are just unbelievable. And you better add Harry Neal in there.
Yeah, on the
because
TV side.
when I was on TV, and Harry will be at our event on Tuesday, and I'm very grateful for
nice.
David Neal to making sure Harry is there. But all of them, again, never took themselves serious, always had fun, never were overbearing by any stretch of the imagination, and added so much to the broadcast, because it was like two guys sitting at the bar, and all of a sudden all of the regulars come in and stand behind them, and you're all watching the game, and these two fools who have the only 2 bar stools and are closest to the TV are describing what the hell's going on because the volume doesn't work, and everybody in the bar seems to be having a good time. And I think that's sort of what we've tried to do, because not all of them are Rembrandts. There are an awful lot of goddamn Picassos through the course of a season. And
There's nothing wrong with a Picasso.
All right, you're a lot more open-minded than I am. But anyway, he couldn't paint a tree if it looked like a tree. What are you, nuts?
I don't think
Anyway,
he was trying to.
I digress.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is that you have to entertain. You're on for 2 hours, and if it's 6-0 after the first, you're probably not entertaining a lot of folks. But if they stay with you, and that's the whole idea of radio, well, then entertain them for the night, and not only the informative part about it, but the personal part about it, and the personality part about it. So I think that's what those guys added to it throughout the course of it. Add Greg Millen in there as well.
Millsy.
So a lot of great people that I work with.
I want to talk about a few other guys who were step by step with you along the way, and that's your boys. And I know Ryan wants to talk a little bit about David, but I remember it was probably Derek or Sean coming down, sitting between us at the very cramped Maple Leaf Gardens, spilling a pop on the table and
ruining my notes.
Lots of things happening, and then Sean and I got to work together at Leafs TV for a while. So, but just talk about the boys and how having them with you along this journey.
Well, I'm very proud of them, and it's funny, we had a roast that they did for me, and the four of them got up there. And when they were finished, I think I had 2 small patches of skin still left on me. But I got even. I said that I had 4 wonderful sons. I love 3 of them. Talk amongst yourselves. But the will is written in pencil, and I do have an eraser. So I'm expecting a big-time Christmas this year. I think it's just going to be over the top. No, but seriously, very, very proud of them. 2 of them have decided that media is what they wanted to get into. The other 2 are doing fabulously well in their chosen lines of work. My son Liam is a big-time guy out at Toyota at their parts distributing plant that he runs the entire operation out in Bowmanville. My son Derek does a lot of in-store signage and advertising and whatnot, and has done extraordinarily well. And Sean, as you mentioned, is still working with MLSE and doing the in-stadium hosting with the Argos. And David is finishing up his degree in sports administration and doing play-by-play for the Sudbury Wolves. And one of the things that I'm really excited about Tuesday night is I'm taking the goddamn night off. And David's going to do the game for me while I sit in the private box and drink some of MLSE's Crown Royal.
Wow.
I love that
news. I did not know that.
Yeah, I love this. Really That's excited. Fantastic. And I did want to, of course, bring up David, who there he is with you up in the booth. I know this was a special moment for you, obviously, to have one of your boys follow, directly within the family vocation, if you will. And David's doing a spectacular job with the Wolves. My color guy in Guelph, of course, Mark Perry, partners up with him on the road games. Spectacular
Mark
guy
does
himself.
A great job. Yep.
Yeah, Mark is an absolute legend, and so is David. Like, you can just tell, that he's carrying so much of the skills that you've brought to the mic forward into the next generation. And like, obviously, that's got to be an incredibly impressive and proud thing for you too, Joe. Like, I don't think any parent necessarily thinks, my kids will follow directly in my footstep in any way. You just hope for the best for them. But to see him having the success he's having and clearly, succeeding at it, that's got to be incredible for you to watch that and share moments like what we're seeing on screen there.
Well, let me tell you guys, one of the things I've never gone and lobbied on his behalf.
No, we know.
And when I announced that to Keith Pelly that I was going to retire, the first thing out of his mouth was, "Do you think David could take over for you?" Wow. I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Do you think he could do some games this year for you?" And I said he would be delighted. So here's an opportunity. He's doing that. So when it was decided that was what was going to happen, Jeff McDonald from TSN phoned me and said, "Everything's arranged. David will be doing the game. We'll get in touch with him to get everything sorted out and all of that." And then he said to me, "Do you think David could do 2 of the World Junior games this year?" And I said, "Yes, I think he can. I would really like it if you called him as opposed to me." And he said, "Yep. Okay." So David's going to do a couple of the World Junior games with Cameron Gauntz on TSN radio. And it's not me. It's not my lobbying. It's not my trying to add weight or something. It's people realizing that there's a talent there and that he is capable of doing it, and he's being recognized for it.
Absolutely, which is, just so much fun to see. And, it's kind of, I almost equate it to like the Bucks, Joe Buck, and of course his dad. Like, it's very similar type of story here.
Yeah. And Dan Kelly,
really incredible. Yes.
Two of the Kelly boys, Ben Schulman.
I was going to say Dan.
Doing a wonderful
Schulman.
job. Yeah, wonderful job doing the radio for the Blue Jays. And it's not nepotism as much as I think that they're involved in how this works from a young age, and understand what needs to be done or things of that nature. And I don't know if there's stuff in the genes or not. I don't know how that works, but it's very gratifying. But the thing that I'm most gratified about is that it's not me lobbying. This is coming from external, and to realize that he's a talented young man at this profession, and hopefully it'll work out.
Oh, I know it will. I mean, we just had him in Guelph, and got to chat with him a little bit, and you can tell he's got his ducks in a row. Like, that's the thing about this. It's not something that you can just do, Joe. Like, this takes serious work. It takes a lot of practice, of course, and
Chris,
it takes a serious attitude.
And hockey is different than any other sport.
100%.
I think you and I could just show up and do a baseball game, and it probably would get done. It's slow.
It'd be passable.
Yeah, it's slow. If you have a working knowledge of the sport, you probably can do it. Football, start, stop, take time. If you have the gift of gab and you've got lots of notes, you fill the time. You got to ride the bus. If you're going to do hockey play-by-play, you got to ride the bus, which is one of the reasons that, other than Mr. Moeller down in Florida, I don't know of Randy probably is the only former player that I know that has done hockey play-by-play. Because if you don't get on the bus and you don't travel and you don't do a lot of this at the minor league level to hone your skills and understand how to kind of carry it, you can't just slide in off of taking your shin pads off and decide that you can do this. It takes some time. And as I've often said, when you're the play-by-play announcer for the Sudbury Wolves, your road trip starts 3.5 hours after you get on the bus. Once you get to the 401, you turn left or you turn right, and then the rest of the road trip happens. So you got to learn to pay your dues, I guess is the term I'm looking for.
And then, so you ride the buses and you go on the road in junior hockey and you do all the games and you get to the National Hockey League and you get to being the guy for the Toronto Maple Leafs and you get to go into a studio on road games and do the games. How much different is this? I don't want to make you say anything you don't want to say, but what's going on here?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I would be lying to say that I'm retiring and this is not a factor in it.
For sure. It's
not what I signed up for, whatever, but it's a sign of the times, at least in Ontario or in Canada. It's a sign of the times. And so, but it is a challenge. Sure. What you see is what we see. And if there are glitches and there are technical difficulties, then you're kind of stick handling in the dark in a closet. So it is difficult. It's not the same. It presents challenges, but you have to try and work through it and work around it and do the best you can.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's one of the many, like you said, I mean, I don't
think
it's
not right, Ryan. It's not right. I'm going to say it. It's just not right.
Not.
This is the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Anyway, this is why it's called instigating.
I kind of hoped your mic might have turned off there, Clarkey, but okay.
Yeah, the desk slamming.
You damn near destroyed the show a couple of minutes ago. I thought you were on another.
We could, you know what, Bonesy, I would have been okay with it because it would have just been a broadcasters only episode.
Yeah. Wow. And a lot more intelligent, too.
I called one game at Maple Leaf Gardens.
You said it, not me.
I did. I called one Leaf game at Maple Leaf Gardens.
There you go.
I can't remember the year, 88, 89. The Leafs played
Seems like something
Moscow Dynamo or whatever.
Dynamo, yeah.
And it wasn't on radio.
It would have been nice to know the two teams, Clarkey.
I know. Well, in 1989, Joe. Moscow. I knew it was Moscow. But I went down there and I sat there where Joe sits, and I called the game onto a cassette. And I had 2 engineers, and I had a color guy. I can't remember who it was.
Nice.
You needed 2 engineers, Clarkey. Wow.
Well, one there, one at the studio. Tom Beshoff. Remember Tom?
And I got to play on the ice at Maple Leaf Gardens once, and I damn near knocked the other goalie over so I could race down to the south end because I wanted to be in John Bauer's crease.
There you go.
I would have tomahawked that guy right over the head with my stick if he'd even got close to getting down there ahead of me.
That was one of my coolest moments too in my career, is playing there at Maple Leaf Gardens. Oh yeah, it was really cool.
And the other one, Clarkey, I don't know if I talked to you about this. 25th anniversary of the Team Canada 72 series. Ron Ellis phones me. He said, Joe, Ken Dryden and Tony Esposito and Eddie Johnson don't play anymore. We're replacing them with Mike Palmatier and Tim Bernhardt. We're going to have 2 media guys play 5 minutes in the game and be on the ice for a minor hockey shootout. Would you be interested? I said, are you kidding me? I guess I would. So I got down there. I'm in the dressing room. It's to the day, 25 years after Game 8. I get out on the ice at Maple Leaf Gardens. The place is packed. I'm sitting on the end of the bench. Mike Palmatier is my goalie, and I'm just in another world. I'm in another world. I have the Team Canada jersey on, for crying out loud. And the game goes on for about 5 minutes, and Palmy is vintage. You got the 2-pad stack going here, sliding over there. The puck was the other end of the rink 5 minutes in. And Bill White, who's standing beside me, he says, Palmy's waving at you. And I look over. He's waving at me to come into the net. And Bill said, I think he wants you to go in. I said, well, I'm not supposed to go in for another hour. No, I don't think so. Anyway, play goes back, comes back the other way. Now Palmy is headed for the bench in the middle of the game, in the middle of a shift. And Whitey says, you better get your mask on. I think you're going in. So I get my mask on. Palmy gets to the bench. I jump on. I go into the game. End of the period, I come over to the bench. I said, Michael, what's going on? He said, oh, I'm having both my knees operated on tomorrow. Tomorrow! What are you doing here? I said, I would not have missed this for my life. So I played the rest of the game. And we win 6-4. And I stopped Daryl Sittler about 3 times, and Sitt wouldn't talk to me for months. Some no good has-been, never was from Sudbury, stonewalled him a couple of times, and we've laughed about that over the years.
That is cool.
I gotta ask on that note, you know, with Sitz being such a legend, of course, he's my mom's all-time favorite player. Met him a few times, unbelievable guys. His brother actually coached my girlfriend's brother in minor hockey for 6 degrees of separation. On that note, and I'm sure Daryl would be in this, who were some of your favorite Leafs players over your 40-plus years to interact with on a day-to-day basis, Joe? Like, you've been able to get to know a lot of these guys, a lot of these legends of the blue and white so much more intimately than the average fan would. Who are some guys that have really stuck out to you that you've maintained a really close relationship with over the years?
Well, the unfortunate part over the last 5 years of not traveling, you don't get to know the guys on a more personal basis. It's just kind of in the room, and you're getting pucks deep, you back check this, whatever. So you don't really get to sit and tell jokes or stories or stuff of that. Not Daryl. I never did a single Daryl Sittler game when he was wearing a Leaf uniform. I did when he was wearing a Flyers uniform.
That's
so
right.
We have become dear friends and great friends through the course of our relationship with the Leafs and his family after that. So Daryl is definitely one of them. Bill Root, who was with me in Nova Scotia and played briefly in Toronto through the 1980s. Wendell Clark, obviously, just an incredible individual and a wonderful human being and a terrific player. He's upset at me because Sylvain Lefebvre had one fight and dropped Robbie Brown, and I screamed out, down goes Brown, down goes Brown. And Wendell says, I had 150 fights. I never got down goes Brown. So he's still a little angry at me. Dougie Gilmore, Sylvain Lefebvre, the coaches, Pat Burns, Pat Quinn, Ricky Lee, so many of them that Felix Potvin, Eddie Belfour, who was just a cantankerous, angry human being when he was playing, but just a wonderful guy once you got him away from having to put the stuff on. Curtis Joseph, I've always obviously had a very soft spot in my heart for anybody that was stupid enough to pull the tools of ignorance on to go out and play. So a lot of those guys, I mean, one of the best stories, and it'll be in the book that Scotty Morrison and I are writing, was Austin Matthews and his parents. The longer I went into this, and when we traveled, the best weekend or the best road trip of the year was always the parents, the father's trip, because most of those guys were closer to my age than I was to the player's age. And we had so much in common, raising kids and being part of hockey. And you always realize that none of these guys were the glass bangers, right? These were the guys that stood in the corner, gave their sons every opportunity to play and improve, but they weren't the ones down railing on people and whatnot. And after Matthew scored his 4 goals in Ottawa, we weren't traveling with the team, but Ralphie and I went back to the team's hotel, the Brook Street, and we went down to the bar for a drink. God, can you think of that? Why would we have ever done that? Anyway, Austin Matthews' parents were there, and I introduced myself to them, and we had a wonderful conversation going, and I phoned the radio station. I said, can you send me down via email the 4 goals? And we played it for them in the bar. And there wasn't a dry eye of the 4 eyes that were listening from the Matthews family, and we've become very good friends since then. So lots of great relationships, lots of great people to have known and to have been associated with, and lots of admiration for anybody that was able to pull that jersey over their shoulders for as little or as long as it went. Was pretty special.
A couple of things I remember from back in the early days. One, I don't think I've ever seen you as mad, and you probably don't remember this, but it was a very early memory for me when Sergio Momesso scored from outside the blue line in a playoff game against Alan Bester. We went to break, and I heard every swear word I could possibly hear come out of Joe Bowen's mouth, and I'm like, holy, this guy loves the Leafs and just hated that moment. The other fun story, though, and I'm sure you've told this before in the air, but Jimmy and the out-of-town scoreboards. You used to order your drinks on the radio.
No, not Jimmy. No, that was Wilbur. That was Wilbur.
Oh, that was Wilbur, but it was Jimmy, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, Jimmy. Oh, yeah. Oh,
the bartender.
Yes, Jimmy.
He would always ask for the out-of-town scoreboard.
Red Dog. Jimmy Peters. Jimmy Peters was in charge. Wilbur had a private box at the Gardens.
Of course, yeah.
And it was just around the corner from the entrance to the press box.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Peters looked after the box for Wilbur. And by about the second period, the out-of-town scoreboard would arrive.
And if it didn't?
Crown Royal and whatever else was mixed with it for Uncle Wilbur. And if it didn't, then there was hell to pay. And so it would be, let's check the out-of-town scoreboard.
That's right.
Red Wings 2.
That's a fun story.
I love it.
Can you imagine that happening now?
No.
Oh God,
yes, I can, because Joe Buck and Troy Aikman told that story about how they were doing it during Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, Wilbur didn't give two flying fidues.
No,
because this was pocket change, what he's getting paid to do radio, compared to what he's negotiating in Rick Vive's next 4-year deal. So I mean, he didn't care. And in Chicago, the young man that was in charge of the press box where we were high above center ice at the old stadium, the rest of the media was at the end of the rink in a press box that would never be allowed now. But Jimmy Sullivan was his name. And there was a filing cabinet up there that I think Al Capone used to use. And you might remember on the old stadium underneath the organ loft was this enormous Canadian Club banner, advertising banner. Well, Jimmy got a bottle of Canadian Club up there, and that's where the out-of-town scoreboard really started.
Okay.
That's where it started. And I said to Jimmy, I said, pour me one with about 5 minutes left in the third. Wilbur didn't wait that long.
No,
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But when you fell behind 6-2 in the third, and he'd been into it since midway through the second, the color commentary used to get pretty interesting.
Entertaining, for sure.
It got a little more colorful. more colorful, which is good. I'll never forget the first time I met you, Joe. It was walking out of a Leaf game, and it was pretty late. They played the Rangers that night. They shut them out 3-0, and you came walking out, and I went up to you. I was in my first year of college, and I said, do you have any advice on, keeping your voice? Because, you can't lose your voice in this business. And you just said a little Crown Royal never hurt anybody. And I was like,
hey, gargle with it. It's up to you whether you swallow or spit it out, but that's part and parcel.
That's neither here nor there.
No,
yeah,
it's not. It's a personal decision.
I will say I have chosen to carry that advice forward with me.
There you go.
If things are very dire, honey lemon tea will get you through a lot. But if things are dire, I think about Joe Bowen.
Yeah.
So
hey, can't hurt.
It can't hurt. It can't.
It never help a great deal.
And it never has.
There you go.
I want to talk to you a little bit too before, obviously I know Clarkey's desperate here. He wants to talk about the Leafs.
Well, if you have time, are you okay for time, Joe?
Yep.
Got a few more minutes? Okay.
Yep.
But before we do that, I'm curious, and you've had so many iconic goal calls. I love the story you've told us before about the Borshevsky overtime goal, yelling at the Detroit fans. I think that's one of my favorite stories. But when you think about all of the different goals you've been involved in, huge goals, 500th career goals, OT winners. You think about that Tavares goal from a couple years ago to go to the second round. Like, does one or two stick out for you when you kind of take a step back and look and go, boy, I really nailed that one?
The Borshevsky goal, mainly because it was a watershed moment. There was no chance beforehand. The owner wasn't going to let them have the wherewithal and the finances and everything else to actually win. So that was a watershed goal. And to get that right, because we were closer to that end of the rink, as I think I've told you before, to get it right and know Nicky touched the puck was very special. The Matt Sundin, bless you boys, goal. That team had just literally laid it right out on the line, trying to protect the lead and defend the way they did. Matt's goal in overtime against Carolina that looked like we might have a chance. You get to those things like that. Ricky Vive's, I called two of Ricky Vive's 50th goals. But unfortunately, it was just that. It wasn't, we didn't have the team that was going to go anywhere with it. And Johnny's goal, I wish I'd got it right, but we weren't able to because of somewhat technical difficulties. But I mean, so many of them, and great saves and everything else are so many great moments to kind of reflect on and enjoy. But those would probably be the ones, if I had to put them on a pedestal somehow or pyramid, that's where they would stand.
Just as Ryan said, just one quick question about the team. And my only question is,
oh, here we go.
Can they please win the cup for Joe Bowen this year?
Well, do you know in Ireland there is a term that is used in day-to-day conversation. It's very common. Everybody uses it. You hear it in the pubs and everything else. So I have the guys at our roast put a T-shirt together for me with Hockey Helps the Homeless and the Unionville Men's Hockey League. But at the bottom, it simply says, "Win one before I'm feckin' done."
Yes.
It's an Irish term.
Yes.
Irish term, and it's used in normal conversation day to day. You can be a feckin' idiot too. Idiot is the term, I believe. But anyway, so it would be nice. Would I be bitterly disappointed? No, not at all.
It would be.
The reason is, Clarkey, as much as fans and media and everyone else rails on players for not doing this or not doing that or not accomplishing this or not accomplishing that, it is not for the lack of trying. And if you tell me that a team just quit, then I will spit in your face. I mean, Game 7 last year went right down the tuber mitts, right? Do you think they quit? You think they stopped trying? I mean, it went wrong and it just went sideways and lots of things compounded it. But my God, they got there. They got there. And we forget about that. And you forget about human nature, human frailties, for whatever it is. They did not quit. They tried, and things went sideways and sometimes backwards. And but that's the one thing that I mean I'm most proud of. This sport, beyond any other, has so much attached to it that has to go absolutely right for you to be successful. You do not have your hands on the ball. You do not run just for the sake of running, something that you've done since you were a toddler taking your first steps. You have to learn a specific skill, and then you have to play with the object of the game 6 feet away from you with a stick in your hand. It is, without question, the most difficult sport on the face of the earth to play. And then to say that someone quit in a Game 7 after getting that far, no, I will take great exception.
You paying attention, Clarkey? You listening to Bones here? This is wise words.
I'm the one who's been.
Well,
you're the one that may have said something around that kind of.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I do.
Well, I hope I educated both of you morons.
You have.
Bonesy, you've been educating me my whole life, brother. I want to tell you, seriously, you've had a massive impact on Leafs Nation, on hockey fans, but in particular, from my perspective, broadcasters, you know, your son included. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it hadn't have been for you and watching you on TV, listening to you on the radio. And I just want to say, from all of the broadcasting fraternity of our great sport, thank you so much for everything that you've done for us, Bonesy.
Well, I appreciate that. That's kind words. And I'm glad that we've had a bit of an impact on people's careers, and enjoy the fact that it's kind of worked out. So thank you very, very much.
Okay.
If we'd have had a better engineer.
Exactly. Hopefully my mic keeps working here.
Those early days got away from you. Yeah.
You know how many times he did that, spilled a drink, and got us off the air, and we couldn't get back on?
Zero.
I mean, it was legitimary stuff.
Zero.
That better be in the book.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I have to say one thing before I let you go, and it might be a little emotional for me, but there's my beloved Sue, who lost her battle last year with her daughter, Madison. This was the game that you wished her well and brought a smile to her face. And I just wanted to thank you. I know my daughter, Amanda, without me knowing, got a hold of you to have you say something on the air, but you really touched her that day, Joe. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And I know she's still smiling about it. So I just wanted to thank you, Joe.
Absolutely, man.
It's been tough.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
Yeah. We'll hug it out on Tuesday, buddy.
You bet.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Joe, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I'm so excited to tune in for Holy Mackinaw night. I know Leafs Nation is, for very good reason. Once again, thank you so much for all you've done for the game. And thanks for taking care of our boy here. We really appreciate this, Joe. Thank you for doing this, man.
Love you, Clarkey.
Same, Joe.
Absolutely.
And you too, you clown.
Thank you, Joe. And go Packers. I'm rooting for your Packers.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even bring up getting hosed at Notre Dame. Didn't even bring that up.
I didn't want to upset you, Joe.
No.
I didn't want to upset you.
Never be on this show again.
I'll ask you quickly. How come they're not in and Miami got in? What's the deal here?
Do we have another half hour?
We got as long as you want. What the hell happened here? I thought of you immediately.
No. I think it's well documented. We got screwed.
I think so too.
Anyway,
I think so too.
I'm going down to the Notre Dame Miami game next year, and we're going to just wail on the Catholics versus the convicts.
I can't wait, man. Well, have fun and good luck to your pack, and have a great night on Tuesday. Thanks, with guys. David and everybody down there. Thank you, Bonesy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. See you, buddy.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, the legend himself, Joe Bowen. And I mean, look, Clarkey, like, we watch these guys on TV, we hear their voices, we listen on the radio, and you know, as a fan, you kind of sit there and you wonder from afar, you know, what's that person like? Like, what are they? And I've been lucky, and you've been extremely lucky to have worked alongside Bonesy, known him for a very long time. I've been lucky to, you know, develop a friendship with him through you and obviously through broadcasting. And the guy's just the most legendary person. He's the nicest guy ever. And you can't go to a function that he attends, let alone a Leaf game. No. I would wager that Joe Bowen has spent more time after games talking to people than he has on the air. Like when he leaves Leaf games, the guy can't leave.
No.
It's incredible.
It is really too bad that he's no longer on TV. Okay. Nothing against Gordon Miller, nothing against Chris Cuthbert, nothing against those guys. But it goes back, Ryan, to my, like, it makes my blood boil when I think of how Leaf fans aren't serviced like any other team, at least south of the border, in the National Hockey League. You have your boy Joe Benedetti.
Joe Beninati. Say it
right. Benedetti. You say potato.
Say it right.
Potato.
Say it right.
But what I'm saying is you have a guy. We had a guy with Leafs TV. Joe Bowen was on Leafs TV. Joe Bowen was on TSN. It was Joe Bowen. Everybody loves Joe. There should be a sitcom. Everybody loves Joe.
Everybody does love him. And it goes back to the conversation that we had a little bit ago about, you know, Leafs TV and the viability of, like, you know, should that like it never should have went away. Like it could be an alternative. You know, I understand how national rights work and all that and big properties.
No, but there's not.
I
understand I get it too.
that.
I get that too. And every Saturday night, you never got Joe Bowen. Joe Bowen was just on the radio on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
The whole time I did games, engineered games. Ken Daniels was the Leafs play-by-play guy on radio during the week. After Joe went to TV, Ken Daniels was the guy. And then obviously Bob Cole, Chris Cuthbert, whoever on Saturday night. Joe was always on radio on Saturday night. I never had a problem with that. But during the week, as the local broadcast, it had to be Joe Bowen. And I just feel, again, ripped off that we can't listen to Joe Bowen, especially this year. Like the last game, I should have asked him, the last game of the year, they better let Joe Bowen call it.
It would be, look, it's already been a long running injustice. I think it would be an extra injustice. And when you have legends like this, there's Joe going into the Hockey Hall of Fame and getting the Foster Hewitt Award, which is of course more than deserved. When you have legends like this, and I think of Foster Hewitt and Danny Gallivan and Al Michaels and Harry Carey, and go down the list.
Bill Hewitt,
Bill Hewitt, everybody go down the list.
Bill Hewitt,
of great broadcasters. Joe Beninati. When you have legends like this around, you have to honor them properly, and you only get one shot at it, And I know Tuesday's going to be an unbelievable night. I'm excited for Joe and for David as well, who's just an incredible kid too. He's just like his dad, and I don't mean the style in which he calls a game. He's different. He has his own thing, and he's very talented, but he's just like his dad personably, and he's going to have a great career. But like when you only get one opportunity to truly honor somebody properly, and that needs to be a part of this. He needs to be on television to say goodbye. And
he better be.
It's strange we're even having that conversation. He's one of those guys that has just his voice, great broadcasters, like, especially when you're like me or like his son, and you get into this and you want to be a broadcaster, those guys that really, touched your brain, their voice kind of lives in your head perpetually. Like I can hear Joe in my mind so clearly, and Rick Jenneret and Bob Cole and Joe Beninati, like all these guys, you hear them in your mind and think like, man, if I could ever just get there, and that needs to be celebrated. And I really hope that they do that, because it's crazy to think that it's just a guy who you hear his voice and you think it's going to last forever.
Well, it's amazing when you're watching the game, when you're watching the game on TV and there's a great goal and you hear, drawing a blank, Gord Miller say that, call the goal. Everyone, you're with buddies, they go, Holy Mackinaw.
Everybody says
Everybody
says it, dude. Like it's literally, I would equate it kind of to like what phrases with like Letterkenny and Shoresy have become now in the Canadian lexicon. That's part of that. Like you could say Holy Mackinaw in an arena anywhere in this country, certainly within Ontario. Yeah, and everybody knows what you're talking about. Yeah. If you say Holy Mackinaw in a hockey rink, everybody knows. Like that's an incredible legacy alone, let alone all of the incredible charity work he's done over the years, appearances. I mean, the work ethic is second to none, and I feel really strongly that he has set such a high bar for broadcasting in this country. And man, I'm glad he's being honored on Tuesday. But I really do agree with you. I sincerely hope that he makes one last appearance on TV, a realm he never really should have left. in many people's opinions. Clarkey, quickly, what are some, great things that you remember about working for him? I know he was teasing you a little bit there, but I know Joe has great love for you and the career that you've had, and he's been a big part of it. What are some fun things you remember about doing that, man?
Just honestly, just being around Joe. Like nothing like work, like obviously work related, but literally, Ryan, Maple Leaf Gardens, the desk at Maple Leaf Gardens where we broadcast from, there was a table and it was about a foot wide, and then it was straight, maybe not even a foot, like less than that, because you had to see over, right, to see the ice, and there wasn't a lot of room, and it was Bill Waters on the far side, Joe in the middle, and me. And like literally rubbing shoulders with my hero right out of school. Like I hadn't even graduated from Humber College at the time when I got the part-time job engineering the games. And just like those like the Sergio Momesso goal, I know he doesn't remember it, but that was one of the very first games. Like I'm sure it was the first year that I was doing the games. And I'll never forget it. Sergio Momesso scores an Allen Bester, and Joe went to break and let loose with lots of swear words. And I thought, wow, this guy loves the Leafs, right? So things like that, just being an unbelievable human being, always there when I need him. As a fellow goalie, we talk goaltending a lot. He's still playing. I'm still playing. And of course, what he said for Sue when she was sick. I'll never forget that, and just a great human. Like, and it's too bad. And I'm glad he admitted it today. I don't think there's any way Joe Bowen is retiring if he's still traveling on the road. That's not what he signed up for.
I think, unfortunately, you're right, and I mean,
and you know what, the Leafs should have said, "This is wrong." Like when Keith Pelly, who's a broadcast guy, came onto the scene, he should have recognized this is wrong. Joe's going on the road. We need Joe Bowen. Joe Bowen has another 10 years left, at least, in him to do play-by-play. Like,
I think so. Listen to him.
Come on.
His voice is fine. His voice aged like a fine Irish whiskey, and I think he would be thrilled if he heard me say that. It really has.
Ryan, I also gotta say, okay, that moment earlier in the show when I was
where you destroyed your equipment,
when I was talking about engineering, and all of a sudden my mic and my headphones. I was like, I couldn't hear what you guys said. I couldn't hear a thing.
We were dying laughing.
Could you hear me?
In pieces, and then you were completely gone. And you were gone for a minute and 15 seconds. Like, anyway,
I know. And we were laughing. What happened? And like, I don't know what happened, but it was probably the funniest moment on this show ever.
That's something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. So thank you for giving us that. And thanks again to our friend Joe Bowen.
Yeah.
What
a great show.
Ever do it.
A whole hour dedicated to Joe. His night is next Tuesday. I'll be there. Best. I'll see him afterwards.
Send me a picture.
I cannot wait.
Send me a picture. I can't wait either. The best to ever do it. And there's another old saying that I'd like to, repeat here. Don't be sad it's over. Be happy it happened at all. And we are so happy that Joe Bowen happened to us as hockey fans and to Leaf Nation and everybody who has enjoyed listening to him for 40 plus years. Congratulations, Bonesy. Friend of the show. You're a friend of the show for watching and listening. All your favorite podcast apps, YouTube, Rogers TV. We really appreciate it. We will be back next week with more Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. Holy Mackinaw, what a career.